She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her.
It's time to get comfy, cuties. Welcome to Whatever Else's podcast. We are here today with a special guest, Romar. I'm Alia, in case you forgot. If you did forget, that's totally fine. Welcome back. But today, I just want to talk about entrepreneurship and how successful young people exist.
I like it. I like it.
I know it's very different, and we all come from different stories and have different paths of how we got successful. And I met Romar and was really interested in his little journey, and he's going to talk about it today. So,
That's crazy.
yeah. Romar, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Romar. I do e-commerce, specifically drop shipping. I just turned 28. So far this year, we've done like 1.4 million in revenue. So
Which is insane.
it does sound insane, but to be honest, like when you're the team and you're in like the space, 1.4 million is very entry level.
Yeah.
Because there's people doing that in like a month.
Yeah.
Who are like literally half my age. There's like a 15-year-old doing 2, 3, 4 million in like a month.
Which honestly, if you are 15 and you're making that much money, like props to you.
It's crazy, yeah.
Like, that's insane.
15-year-old, like, what were you doing? At 15, I was just speaking at my old high school, and I'm like talking to the 15-year-olds, and I'm like,
I was trying not to
relax.
get gum in my braces. So,
Really? In 15?
yeah.
I never had braces.
Oh, really?
Never.
You're lucky. I didn't have them for very long, but like it wasn't a fun time.
I always hear that.
Yeah.
Kind of curious.
I think the headgear was worse, but
You had a headgear.
I had headgear.
No way.
Yeah.
I would have just said no.
It wasn't pretty. Like I just would hide at home with my headgear, but
What year were you born? 2000s or something?
99.
You're 99. Okay,
Yeah.
so was my girlfriend. Yeah,
Yeah.
99 as well.
Yeah.
You're 26, 25.
25.
25. You're turning 26 next year.
When's your birthday?
October 31st.
Oh yeah, Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, and my girlfriend's the next day. Yeah, that's why her name is Valerie.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
that's so nice. A little bit about how we met. I was actually okay. Well,
She was sold.
So I went in to book a test drive at Tesla and pulled up, and Romar was the guy that like helped me get in a car and was like, okay, you can go drive it now. And then when I purchased my Tesla and picked it up at the store, he was the one that like sat in the car and was like, these are all the settings and this is
Cute.
everything you need to know. And
You're going to Paris around that time, right?
yeah.
And you were worried like, oh, what if it comes when I'm still in Paris or
Well,
something?
it did come when I was still in Paris. You called me and I was like, I'm not home. Like, I'm coming. I'll be home in a couple of days. I can come pick it
Yeah.
up. So it sat there.
No,
But
that's fine. Because they're strict. Usually they're strict, but I feel like depending on when it came in, you could have kind of just played it off. So
it was
it's perfect.
exciting
It's
though. Like,
perfect.
good timing.
That's crazy. Small world.
Like, hopped off a plane and went and picked up my car, which was really fun. I think you were going to Dominican.
Yeah, February. That's when I
Yeah.
was going to Dominican. Was that before, right? Before I was going to Dominican?
Yeah, I think so.
Crazy. Yeah, that's when I was still working.
Yeah.
I left Tesla like 2 months after. I think I left April 13th was my last day.
Speaking of leaving your job, I was an employee and I left my job and started my own thing. You, similar situation, like you were an employee, and I walked me through like what was your point of like, this is not for me,
Mm,
and how did you make that leap of deciding like, you know what, it's scary going on your own,
It
but
is.
like I need to do this.
yeah. Obviously the choice isn't easy. But at the same time it kind of is. When it came down to deciding when to leave,
Mm-hmm.
when you have like the mind of little business related entrepreneurship, like you don't like ever to work for someone.
Yeah.
So I always struggled with like taking like being told what to do, what time I should be there. So what I ended up doing was like working on my own stuff on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I was kind of like, once my stuff kind of started popping off, where every time I was going to work, the commute there, I was already making more money. I was like, why do I need to spend 8 hours doing things I don't like when I've already made more money? You know? So, it is definitely scary. I was getting paid like 100K a year,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the breaking point was last year, 2023. I think it was around October. I saw how much I've made so far in the year, and it was around like 80 something K. And back in high school, that's what I thought. I was like, oh, once I hit like 80K a year, I'm set. That's
Yeah.
crazy. You know what I mean? And then you finally do it, and you're like, oh,
I feel like as a kid too, like you're like you imagine like you making this much money, like all these timelines, and you're like, wow, this is insane.
yeah,
And then eventually you hit those, and you're like,
I'm still not.
yeah, I need more. Like
Yeah.
it's not enough. And like it comes to a point where you're just like, you got to make that choice and decide what is best for you.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of what's the alternative? You know, it's like I could stay miserable at this job, or I could just take a leap of faith. And you could always think of it, oh, what happens if it doesn't work out? But it's like you could also view it as, what if it turns out even better?
I
So,
literally say that all
you know
the
what I
time.
mean?
Like, it comes, like, why are you doubting yourself? The
Yeah.
entire world around you is negative. Like, you might as well just believe in yourself and be positive for you because no one else is gonna do it. So instead of what if it doesn't, like, what if it
What if
does?
it does? I know. And it's crazy. It's like you want this life so different from everybody else, but you're gonna take advice from them, do the same things that they do. So of course you're just gonna end up getting
The same
the
result.
same result. And I'll be honest with you guys, if you just ask your friend group to see, like, okay, get a temperature check. If you guys like what you do, like, is this what your ideal lifestyle is? Majority of the time, you'll probably hear, no, it's not. But there isn't, like,
They,
sometimes they don't see the alternative,
yeah,
you
and a
know?
lot of times people are so unhappy and stuck, but are so scared to like do anything about it
Yeah,
because they don't know, and that's scary.
I know.
And then they're like miserable. But like if you want things to change, you have to change them.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's like really the hard part. When you don't have any momentum, you don't have guidance, you don't have like any idea what's even possible, you're kind of stuck in that small little cage. So your sphere of influence is everything. When the moment you start hanging out with people who are in the space doing the things you want to do, that's when you're like, wow, this is all possible. That's why when I said in the podcast earlier where 1.4 is kind of nothing crazy, because it really isn't anything crazy. My boys have done like 10, 20,
Yeah.
you know, like it's nuts, but to start.
How has your like circle in or like people that you hang out with impacted your life?
Oh, I think it's everything.
Like, and do you think it's changed?
It for sure has, for sure. It's not like I mean every relationship should be transactional, but
Yeah.
like when I'm hanging out with the boys that are in business, it's like your framework on how you view things are a lot more different, right? Like nobody's asking to split anything. It's like whose credit card are we using today, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone's paying for each other. There's not much of that like scarcity mindset that you get in like sometimes in friend groups, which there's nothing wrong, right? You can't do it financially. There's no point for you to try to force yourself into like a
Well,
bad financial position
and
just
so
to show.
just to show off and upkeep and like
Yeah,
keep up appearances. Like I feel like you have to do what's best for you.
yeah. So I can't blame them,
Yeah.
right? But having those guys, it's like I could spend a few hours trying to figure out what the heck how to do this,
Mhm.
or I could just ask my buddy who's already done this and they could just show me in less than 30 minutes. So in terms of like how much time you save, how much money you actually end up saving because you don't make these mistakes that they did, it's like a whole different type of system on how to get to, you know, where you want to go, I'd say at least.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree. Like it makes all the difference if you can like everybody's gonna make mistakes, but if you can surround yourself with people that have already made some and learn from that,
Yeah.
I think it just sets you up in a better position.
Yeah, same thing. Mr. B said mentioned the same thing when he was coming up on YouTube. He was just in a group chat on Skype with guys doing the exact same thing. Something didn't work for that guy. Perfect. They won't do it on their side. This worked for this guy. Cool. Let's apply that to my stuff.
Yeah.
And everyone wins.
It's all about learning and growing and it's how you get better.
Exactly.
So I feel like when you left Tesla, was it what point was it just like I'm scared, but I'm gonna do it? Like how did you overcome that?
I was reading the book. It was like The Alchemist.
Okay.
And it was crazy because talked about a spoiler, but the main character ended up getting a job. It was very comfortable. And then he talked to the shop owner, and the shop owner shared how like he too got comfortable and he didn't pursue like his desire of doing whatever it was he wanted. The main character actually noticed that if he stays this course, that he is gonna be in the exact same position. So I think that kind of woke me up a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I have to do this because if I don't, when will I?
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna have to wait for the next opportunity, next opportunity. And next thing you know, like your whole life passes. So I'm like, gotta take the leap of faith. Even if you're scared, people think I'm like a millionaire now. Say, no, I'm still figuring it out. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But I don't regret it. I definitely don't regret it.
Couldn't agree more. Like it's just
Where did you work before?
few places. I worked at a real estate company and then I worked at an HVAC company before.
Wow, that's completely polar opposite.
Yeah.
You look like a realtor though, actually.
No.
Yeah, for
No.
real. You got that realtor look. I will sell you a house.
It was just like I was like their business operations.
Nice.
It's like helping out, doing all that, like their business manager. And like no bad blood, no bad vibes. Like it just wasn't for me. It got to a point where I was like, why am I busting my butt,
Mhm.
working so hard for someone else when I could be putting in this work into myself?
Way better return.
Yeah. Well, and I had started my business at the same time that I started with this real estate company.
No way.
My business was like supposed to be a side thing.
Yeah.
And like within 2 months of it being a side thing, it was
The main thing.
it,
Wow.
well, I just loved it, and I was like, I'm good at it. I ended up having like 10 clients in 2 months, and I
That's
was like,
great. That's actually great.
I was like, I can't do this part-time anymore. Like, this is a lot. I was like working insane hours and tired,
I
and
know.
I started getting miserable. I was going through a lot of life changes like at that time too. My relationship at the time was falling apart. Like,
No way.
my whole life was just like spent working. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like where I was in life. Like, I wanted all these things, and I just felt like it was like a very transitional period. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's now or never.
Was this last year?
Yeah.
This is just last year? We it sound like it's been 2, 3 years ago.
October of last year.
Wow, that's pretty fresh from when I met you too.
Yeah.
Because I remember you were talking about like you have so many clients.
So I started my business in April of last year, and I started with the realtor company. And then by September, I was like, I'm going on my own. This is just what I need to do.
September? December.
Like end of September, early October. So it's been like a year. Full.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride.
Worth it, I feel.
So worth it. I don't think I'd change anything.
That's really
Like
good.
all the bad, all the good. Like I am so grateful for going through everything because
You have to be, I feel.
I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like those mistakes and those horrible moments where everything was falling apart and the grind of like figuring it out and taking all those scary big jumps made you
No, and I
get
feel like
where you are.
a lot of people like try to sit on the past on like, oh, I could have done this at that time. It's too late. And it's like you're not dead. I don't think
I think that's
ever
like
too
my
late.
biggest fear is like I don't want to think like what if I did something different.
Exactly. I
Like
feel like that'd eat you up.
yeah, I don't ever want to feel like I didn't do enough or I could have done more or
Have you heard that saying? People die at 25 but aren't buried until like 75.
no,
You ever heard that?
no.
Because
I basically just heard I died.
no. So the saying people die at 25 but aren't buried until 75 is because in 25, usually that's the age where you start getting a house, you get your career.
Yeah.
You kind of stop going after these things that you always wanted to do because now all these obligations pile up and
But don't
you're
think
just existing. So you're not really living anymore.
when you get comfortable in your situation.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
buy a house and you're stuck paying a mortgage and you're
Yes.
stuck and then you're like, oh, what's next? I gotta fill the house with kids and you're like, oh, now I
Absolutely.
gotta yeah.
It's never ending. And then they just never break free from that. And then
All of a sudden you're like 60 and you're like, oh my God, where did my life go?
you just existed. You didn't live. That's what the saying comes from.
That makes so much sense. That's a good one.
Yeah, because
Like
when
it.
I was living on my own, I moved out with my girlfriend for a year, and that was the plan for a year. I kind of saw like, oh, I can see how people get stuck in this, and that scared me. Which is why, like, after the lease was up, I was like, okay, I gotta put my head down in my parents' basement. I literally moved back to my parents' house. I wonder what people will think. I also don't care what people think.
It doesn't honestly like everybody has their own shit going on. Like everybody like what who cares?
Exactly, and I
Like,
feel like
it's
it stops people.
better position for you to move back into your parents. Honestly, first of all, great, like good for you for like not giving a shit what other people think. And second of all, like you're lucky that your parents are like cool with it.
They wanted me to come back too. They got the finished basement and
Oh,
everything, and I was like,
perfect.
I said, okay, fine.
He's fully set up.
Yeah, and I was like, this is where I'll make my bag. But I'm still working.
Everybody got to start somewhere, and like honestly, it's good.
Yeah, no, I
Like who
have
cares
zero
what other
regrets.
people think?
Because some people, but I don't want to go back. It's like, to be honest, I have friends doing like what some of these people make in a year, in a month, and they still live in their parents' house.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like perspective.
It's all about perspective, and nobody else is on your path except you. So why does everybody else's opinions matter?
I can see the viewpoint where it's like, okay, you might get comfortable, blah, blah, blah. But it's like my viewpoint, if I'm traveling,
Yeah.
like if I plan to travel, why pay rent?
Yeah.
Why buy a mortgage? And it's like I'm still in my 20s and I plan on doing that for a few months and stuff like that. So it's like locking in something at this point it doesn't make sense for me. But that's for me. Everyone has their own timeline. I'm not talking trash to
Yeah.
anybody who has
No.
a house.
Obviously not if you have a house and you're young. Like
Good for you. That's a good
honestly,
thing.
I'm so proud of you because that's hard.
Yeah, I don't.
Can't say for the life of me. So like, good on you.
It's like they think what we do is hard. It's like I feel like what you do is kind of hard.
Yeah.
you
Also,
know?
like, that's so stressful.
It is.
I can imagine if something like broke down and you have to like deal with it yourself. Like,
Everything. And it's a mortgage, so it's like you had to pay off $500,000, $600,000. That's under your name,
yeah.
you know?
Which is, oh my God, terrifying.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, yeah, I can do that. The thing is, when I want to buy a house, it's under the only condition that my business pays for it. Like, I don't want to be the one who has to like pick up a side job to pay for the house. Like, I want it solely because I'm in this house because my business pays for it.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't have to worry about ever having to report again, blah, blah, blah. That's where I'm at. Like, I set myself free a little bit, but I want permanently set myself free. That's what I'm working for. That's it. Yeah.
I think that's a big thing too. Like, you don't want to be attached. Like, just because you are essentially your own boss doesn't mean that you want to be attached to a desk for the rest of your life.
No.
Or change your computer.
Yeah, I'm gonna change a lot of things. I feel like it's like the start still. Like, I haven't even seen anything yet, but it's gonna be exciting for sure.
Yeah. I find that so crazy. Like, time goes by so fast and you just get stuck. And you're like, oh my God, where did the year go? Where I was last year, I'm like, oh my God, like that's crazy. It's been a year.
Well, I spoke at my high school yesterday, and then my old teacher was introducing me. Graduated 10 years ago. What? It's been 10 years? That's crazy.
That's actually insane.
I graduated 2014, and it's 2024. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That is insane. I can imagine.
Do I look like it?
No. I don't
I
think
feel like my facial haircut made me look like it, you know?
No, that's fair.
I can look back. If I were to actually take this off, I'd look like I'm in high school again.
Most of the time, people think I'm like 12.
Nah, that's crazy.
Junior high? I'm like, no, I've actually been like.
You're in your mid-20s.
I have a business. Yeah, sure.
I can see you going past like early 20s for sure.
Okay.
Early 21.
My younger sister, like, I get ID'd everywhere we go, and then she just like walks through. Like, everyone thinks she's older.
What year is she?
2002.
That's crazy how 2002 can like drink now.
Yeah, 22.
Crazy. That's Gen Z, right?
Well, I'm Gen Z too.
I guess I'm
I'm
like borderline millennial and Gen Z.
I don't know. I don't know how the generations work. There's a lot of them.
I know Gen X is like way back then, but
I don't know. I just like when people say, "Okay, boomer."
yeah, that's like before Gen X. I'm pretty sure Boomer's like way back.
I don't know. I say it to my dad sometimes, and I just
does he understand like he's the Boomer generation?
Like, are you calling me old? I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He actually, like, I had to teach him how to use FaceTime the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, how old is
Well, he calls me. He's like, do you know how to use ChatGPT? I was like, yeah. He's like, how do I get it? I'm like, it's a website. You don't just get it. And then he goes, also, this is no shade to my dad or to anybody of older generations. Like, I love you guys, and you've built the world, and, like, whatever. I'm here to help. And then he's like, FaceTiming me, and I'm like, okay, Dad, like, I'll flip your screen so I can see your computer and not you. And he goes, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, how on earth? Like, what do you mean? And then he had to call my mom to like flip the camera so I could see the computer because he didn't know where the button was. And I was just like, this is crazy.
My dad's like 55, 56.
My dad's 55. I'm like, he's also worked on a computer for his whole life. Like, for his whole career. I'm like, I don't know how you like operate and not know how to
Hey, it is what it is. At least you help them. I know it's so.
It was very frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little mean to him.
Me too. I get the same thing, and I feel bad because it's like they're so patient with you when you need something.
Yeah.
I'm like,
bad. Well, this is why I'm not a teacher because I just
students. That'd be crazy.
I think I wouldn't last a day. So shout out to anybody who's a teacher, for being patient and kind. And
it's actually crazy. One of like even the teachers that I haven't seen in years. I was like, yo, Mr. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They're like, Romar.
Yeah, they just remember you.
Oh, shit. I was like, what? You remember me, Dad?
I'm a celebrity. Someone knows me.
Yeah, for real. Crazy. That's crazy.
It's so good. Well, I think, like, the main takeaway from today was just embrace the scariness and believe in you, and who cares what anybody else says. Go for what you want. And if you want a different path, then you got to make the decision of going for it.
Even the people that choose to like watch from the sidelines and everything like that. I think there was a saying I saw recently. How do you expect to catch any fish if your net's not even in the water? It's like you want to make all this money, but what are you actually doing to try to get it? You know, like you want to become an influencer, but you don't pick up a camera and talk to it, and you're not a fan of yourself. You know, it's like you can't expect people to be a fan of you. Right, Anna?
That's a good one. Are you a big fan of yourself, Anna?
It's funny because I was telling her about like how I don't talk to my phone.
Yeah.
And they talk to her on the camera. And she's like, you're a creator, you're supposed to.
Hey, your recent video actually, Anna was talking. I was like, yo, Anna's talking. I liked it. It was good. It was an unboxing haul, you know.
I was watching it and Josh was like, is that Anna? I was like, yeah. He's like, did she post that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm gonna go watch it too. We're both sitting beside each other in bed watching Anna unbox Aritzia stuff. I was like, oh, that's really cute. And then I'm on the website.
That is so funny.
Because there's people like there's influencers who actually kind of get away with just not ever talking.
Yeah.
But if you notice in the past few years, you'll start seeing like all these like gym fitness influencers like who used to just take selfies, their workouts.
Mhm.
Now they're talking. They're
Well, you have to, like, you build a connection with your audience.
It's more
Like,
authentic.
yeah.
It's not 2016 when people were like DSLR perfect pictures and your perfect lifestyle. People like to know like, oh, you struggle too?
Yeah.
It's more relatable. That's why I feel like that's the direction.
I like that. More authentic.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like real people.
Yeah, that's why I started vlogging. It's like, man, people think like, oh, you must know everything. It's like, and my vlogs, I'm like, yeah, I just failed another test, dropshipping. It sucks. I'm crying on the inside, but it is what it is.
It works though. Like, it's whatever, right? Like, everybody makes mistakes, everybody's learning, and nobody has done what you're doing. So, like
100%.
it's your path, and no one can tell you. There's no rule book of like how to follow it and how to do it perfectly.
Yeah, it's like the world doesn't know who Romar is,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like the
Well,
world
we
doesn't
do
know.
now.
Yeah, I know, a little bit now. Like that, you can say the same thing for everybody. It's like, do you want to get yourself out there or not? It's up to you.
To end off our little chat today, do you have any advice for anyone that is in the position of where we were before, or anybody scared, or anybody that
Yeah.
doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't know what's next? Do you have any advice?
Of course, I feel like people who are scared to kind of pursue it as whatever they want, I think they should be more scared of not pursuing it and seeing their whole life go by without taking any risks. And there's a saying, it's like the biggest risk is by not taking one, because you're gonna go through your whole life regretting that you could have done this, you could have been this, and it's like you want to be on your deathbed and think about all the past lives that you could have lived, but you just were too scared to take the jump. I can't never resonate with that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like take the jump now. If it fails, then it fails. As so long as you're not dead, like I don't see it.
At least
being
you
ever
learn.
bad.
But like, I feel like everything that you do, like good or bad, as long as you learn from it, no harm, no foul.
Exactly.
Within reason. Like, obviously, if you're like end up homeless and like
Yeah,
life
but
goes awful,
there's
then,
calculated
like,
risks. Yeah.
like you end up dying, like that's a really bad. Like, I'm really sorry. That is not
That's not what I'm
like
trying to get
within
to.
an extent. Be smart about it.
100%.
An opportunity, but also don't be scared to take the opportunity.
You might as well be dead at that point.
Thanks for coming, and thanks for being on our little
Thank you for
chat
having me.
today.
Oh my gosh.
We will catch you next time.
Bye, everyone.